In this world, there's one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos, and this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, terrific Sports Tuesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Tuesday morning, the world of sports on fire. And we are going to get to all the big stories, including why this stretch of baseball coming up is of vital importance to the World Series favorite, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I will share with all of you the NFL team with a very low win total that you likely expect to be bad, that I think could contend for a playoff spot this season. And it will surprise you. Not if you listen to the show this offseason. I've said it a few times, but I am really feeling good about this opinion. I will share it with you a little later in the program. And the NBA opening night schedule is out. The Christmas Day NBA schedule is out. And I am filled with joy. I cannot wait for it. And part of that has to do, of course, with the fact that my team, the New York Knicks, are the defending champions. But man, these games are awesome. The storylines are juicy. And I have got so many takes to fire off opening night, Christmas, with a lot of these teams, big name players. I can't wait to discuss the NBA later this hour and next hour with you here on a Tuesday on You Better You Bet. We will close the show with our bets as per usual in the power hour, the final hour. Winner for us last night with the New York Mets jumping all over the Atlanta Braves early. And I say this because I get messages from people every day about the bets, and I appreciate it very much. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling myself a little bit as it concerns the bets. A little bit of a hot streak as it stands right now, which probably means I'm due to go rotten in short order. I'm just telling you, I will have more bets than usual tonight in Major League Baseball. Do whatever you want with that information, but we will have at least 3 bets for tonight in Major League Baseball that I will give you at the end of the show. I feel like I'm hashtag seeing the board right now in MLB. The phone number, 310-840-4910. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, and you can follow me, your boy, Nick Kostos, on all social media platforms at the Kostos, TheKostos. But we officially begin terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet with a Texas-sized extension in the National Football League. The Dallas Cowboys yesterday, after we went off the air at noon Eastern, signing defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, 3-year extension worth 100. I love how they get to this number. Why not just 106? Anyway, $105.9 million. $101 million guaranteed. Must be nice. $63 million guaranteed at signing. And Quinnen Williams will now be a Dallas Cowboy through the 2030 season. Now, you might remember last year at the trade deadline, Dallas dealing a 2026 second-round pick, 2027 one, and Mozzie Smith to the New York Jets for Quinnen Williams. The Jets will get the better of Dallas or Green Bay's first-round picks in next year's NFL draft. We'll talk about the Jets a little later in the show. And Quinnen Williams, one of the very best defensive tackles in the National Football League, 4-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro following the 2022 season. And if we're going to be really honest here, because I think we, as sports fans, we in the media, we as a country, we love to rag on the Dallas Cowboys. It didn't always used to be like this. I grew up when the Cowboys were dominating in the 1990s, winning Super Bowls and like the model franchise in the National Football League. But obviously, Dallas hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 30 years. Hasn't even been to Championship Sunday in 30 years. So it's become in vogue, given the fact that Dallas is always out there and Jerry Jones loves the drama. Don't believe me, just ask him. He'd love to tell you. It's become in vogue to dunk on the Dallas Cowboys and to criticize the Cowboys for moves that they make. So if we're going to do that, and we're going to criticize Dallas, and I'm guessing that you've done that. I've certainly done it with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. If we're going to do that, then we also have to say when they do something right. This is a good piece of business for Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys have kind of morphed this offseason, right, into an incredibly fascinating team in the sense that for the first time in what feels like a long time, and just really consider what I'm about to say, because you're going to agree with it, they're stable. There isn't any gigantic drama. Training camp isn't a circus. There aren't huge financial decisions really looming over everybody's head. Brian Schottenheimer, by all accounts, we watched him last year, feels like a good head coach. Someone who tames the drama, someone who's in control, and maybe a guy who's better suited to be a head coach than he is to be a coordinator. We collectively, especially on this show, we love offensive coordinator Clayton Adams, think he could be a future head coach in the NFL. And just, I'll say this, right? I think I've been ahead of the curve on national shows on Cowboys defensive coordinator Christian Parker. And what a good hire that was. And how that hire, plucking him from the Vic Fangio tree in Philadelphia, represents a departure from the way the Cowboys generally do business, right? Think about last year, Matt Eberflus, a.k.a. Matt Eberflus as the defensive coordinator. Now it feels like Dallas stepping into the 21st century with its defensive coordinator. Many people in the NFL smarter than me, we had Sal Palantonio on the show earlier this offseason saying Christian Parker could be a head coach eventually in the National Football League. A lot of things have gone right for the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb Downs slipping to them in the NFL draft. High upside pass rusher later in the first round in Malachi Lawrence. How about George Pickens somehow not making any waves about the fact that he's playing on the franchise tag this season and is not getting a long-term deal from the Dallas Cowboys? It's quiet right now in Dallas. Quiet at Oxnard. And that feels like an awesome thing for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the question that we should all ask ourselves in moments like these, whether this is in sports or in life, when we see a radical departure from the norm, I think it's prudent to ask, is this the way things are going to be moving forward? Or are we going to get a back to reality moment slapped in the face where all of a sudden it turns into a circus yet again? Because the Dallas Cowboys right now feel to me like a person in your life who binge eats, maybe a little overweight, can't stop themselves from late at night, maybe 2 a.m, wake up a little hungry, meander over to the freezer, open that sumbitch up, pull out some Ben & Jerry's, some Haagen-Dazs, whatever tickles your fancy. They can't stop eating. And then maybe once a year, once every 2 years, that person decides, you know what? I've had enough. It's time for me to take control of this situation. And for a couple months, that person diets. And a couple months, that person gets in the gym. And they look pretty good after those couple months. But inevitably, 2 a.m. hits. And they wake up and meander on over to the freezer and bust out the Ben & Jerry's, the Haagen-Dazs, whatever tickles your fancy. Perhaps I'm drawing on personal experience in my own life to make that analogy. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are dieting. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are in the gym. It seems like they've broken this cycle of drama, of nonsense, of hijinks that dominates this team so often, not only during the season, but especially before the season starts. Remember last year during the Micah Parsons drama when he gets traded right before the season to the Green Bay Packers? Jerry Jones basically says, if people aren't talking about the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to give them a reason to. And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say that verbatim, but that's essentially what he said. He's addicted to the drama. And right now, there isn't much drama. But on the horizon, if you squint, put your hand over your eyes like there's a lot of sun to get some better vision, you can see a potential problem looming for Dallas in a year where there is a lot of optimism, not just from me, but from a lot of people in what this season could be for the Dallas Cowboys. At our show sponsor, BetMGM, Dallas is an even money choice to make the playoffs, plus 100, so a slight dog to miss. A win total of 9. So the Cowboys are expected to finish above 500 this season. I think they could potentially go 11-6 or 12-5 if everything goes right. But the drama that is lurking in the distance with the Dallas Cowboys concerns a name that I've already mentioned in this opening segment on this Tuesday. Mercurial, and I'm using that word very lightly, in lieu of like crazy, mercurial wide receiver George Pickens. So Quinnen Williams gets his big money extension. I have no problem with that. Quinnen Williams deserves it. He's an awesome player, and I live in the New York area. By all accounts, he's a Jet for a long time. Teammates, media, everyone talks about Quinnen Williams as being the consummate professional and a great teammate. I have zero beef with the signing of Quinnen Williams. I think this is a great piece of business by the Dallas Cowboys. But giving Quinnen Williams this money has now opened the door for a lot of people, including players on the Cowboys, to question out loud what's going to happen with George Pickens. Cowboy star receiver CeeDee Lamb is openly campaigning now in the media for Jerry Jones to sign George Pickens to a contract extension. Telling Jerry Jones, and I just want to, like, the way I'm going to say it sounds harsh. This is part of a larger clip, soundbite. CeeDee Lamb telling Jerry Jones to figure it out with George Pickens. Now, it wasn't like a threat the way that he said it, but he very much wants George Pickens to get signed. Lamb adding that if you sign George Pickens to this extension, that we will bring you, Jerry Jones, more championships. Pretty strong stuff. The problem with this line of thought, and it's wishful thinking, and I understand it. If I were CeeDee Lamb, I would want the Cowboys to re-sign George Pickens to a huge money deal. If I were a Cowboys fan, I would want that to happen, assuming Pickens keeps his head on straight like he did last year. Fantasy football players want this to happen. Why wouldn't you want this to happen unless you're like an Eagles, Giants, or Commanders fan, right? And you don't want the Cowboys to be good. And of course, George Pickens would like to get that big money deal. But there's a massive problem. A fly in the ointment, if you will, with the potential George Pickens big extension. It's like actually not possible. Like it really can't happen. And the reason why, let's assume that George Pickens has a similar season this year to what he had last year. 93 catches, well over 1,000 yards, bunch of TCs. He's tremendous last season. Absolutely outstanding in year one in Dallas. Makes the Steelers look silly for giving up on him for just a third-round pick. If Pickens plays that well this year, he will command a contract that will be north of what T. Higgins got in Cincinnati, what Jalen Waddle got in Miami. Why are those the two names that I've chosen? Because both of those names, at the time, Waddle's obviously now in Denver with the Broncos, are the 1A, the 1B receivers on their team behind the 1A. In Cincy, Jamar Chase is the 1A. T. Higgins was the 1B. In Miami, Tyreek Hill at the time was the 1A. Jalen Waddle was the 1B. And in Dallas, CeeDee Lamb is the 1A. And even if Pickens outplays him this year, CeeDee Lamb's already got his money. Dallas is obviously also paying Dak Prescott an absolute boatload of money. Just gave Quinnen Williams this huge contract. Is Dallas going to be able to give George Pickens this huge extension? That he will, because again, if we're going to play this out and things are going to go great for George Pickens, he's going to be amazing this year. Can they even pay him? So you already have CeeDee Lamb saying it out loud. You need to pay this guy. To this point in the, and this I think surprises people. It surprises me. It should surprise you if you're paying attention. The fact that George Pickens has not made any waves yet, I think is one of the upsets of this century. Like, that would have been a massive underdog if BetMGM were to set that in a market, right? Will George Pickens publicly complain and be angry about the fact that he's playing this year under a one-year deal, right? Under the French, even if he's making a ton of money. He wants a long-term deal. We would all want the long-term deal if we were George Pickens. We can understand where he's coming from. And this was a guy that, despite his unbelievable talent and raw ability, the Pittsburgh Steelers said, you know what? We can't deal with this anymore. We'll take a third-round pick. You take him off our hands. A powder keg, potentially. I'm being serious. And I love the Cowboys heading into this year. Would anyone really be shocked if this turned into an issue? Either today or by October, by Halloween, trade deadline. I'm not insinuating the Cowboys will trade him. Just that, as the season goes along, if Pickens is playing great, you don't think there might be some acrimony here? Especially as he watches other players get, whether it's deserved or not, and it is, in the case of Quinnen Williams. Williams deserves that money. He's been great. Dallas made the investment in him. Good piece of business by Dallas and a good piece of business by the Jets in that trade. He deserves the money. Think George Pickens cares? Here's a better question. Would you care if it were you? You work for a company. You know that you deserve more money. And you watch someone else get money. Even if you know deep down that that person deserves it, it doesn't mean that you hate that person or you're mad at that person, but you're going to feel some type of way about it because the money isn't in your wallet. It's in that person's. And that person has the security. You don't have it. And you feel like deep down when your head hits the pillow at night and you're alone with your thoughts, you know, and you can be honest with yourself. You're not lying to yourself. You know that you deserve it. And it's not even a question. And you don't have it. Would you feel some type of way? I would. And I think you would also. And I'm sure George Pickens does. And it might just be a matter of time before George Pickens, who, again, has been a model citizen this offseason with all of this, and what an upset that is. At some point, he decides, you know what? I'm taking this public. I'm bothered. I've been awesome for this team, and I deserve to get taken care of. You already have one of the most vocal and visible members of the team in CeeDee Lamb. He's saying it out loud. You don't think his teammate hears it and agrees with him? Of course he does. That's potential off-field drama for the Cowboys. As far as on-field goes, I want to continue to bring something to your attention. Now, I don't say this to insult other national shows, and I mean that sincerely. Just that I like to get a little deeper with the analysis, because I believe that you, our audience, you love sports, you know what's going on, you're educated, and you enjoy being in the minutia because the minutia matters. As far as on-field goes, if things are going to go wrong here for the Dallas Cowboys this season, as early as week 1 of the season, Sunday night, September 13th at the New York Football Giants, and I've mentioned this a few times, and I think it bears repeating. I am concerned right now, and this comes from someone who likes the Cowboys this year, right? I'm concerned about these Cowboys offensive tackles. I like the interior of the line quite a bit. I'm concerned about the left tackle competition, which we expect Tyler Guyton to win. I'm sure that he will win the job. But the fact that there's an open competition is not good. Like, it's not a great thing. Like, you would generally never see a team with, like, oh, we have our young left tackle here that we feel great about. Let's make him earn his spot. What? This is not the kind of thing that happens. Like, just to use an example, Will Campbell with the Patriots, who got dump trucked last year throughout the postseason. New England drafted Caleb Lomu at the end of the first round, left tackle out of Utah. Is Will Campbell, like, fighting for his job? Like, no. Will Campbell's the left tackle. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Tyler Guyton is competing for his job. And Terrence Steele on the right side, good run blocker, not the best pass protector. Here comes Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and company in week 1. So yeah, I like the interior of the offensive line. I think Dak Prescott's awesome. I think Javonte Williams is underrated. Jake Ferguson, good tight end. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are marvelous. Dak Prescott going to be on his ass this season? They going to be able to protect Dak? Give Dak the requisite protection that he needs? I think it's a fair question to ask. And I like the Cowboys this year. But I owe it to you, our audience, and I owe it to me, because I love this stuff, and I bet and I play fantasy, to ask these questions and try and answer them. So right now, everything's copacetic in Dallas. No drama. One big happy family. New defensive coordinator. Improved side of the ball. and a star diva wide receiver who, for the moment, isn't making any waves. Doesn't it feel, though, like the worm could turn at any moment and the big top could go back over the Cowboy circus with Jerry Jones as the ringleader? I'm just saying. We're just getting started here. Terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. On the other side, we will talk about another team in the National Football League that generally has at least a little bit of drama going on. And I love the fact that this team's new head coach is doing his best to extinguish the drama and create a new culture. I'll tell you what team it is and break it all down next on Westwood One Sports.
Yeah, that's training camp. You know, those two leaders of our team going at it. So that is part of camp. Obviously, you fight in the game, you throw a punch in the game, especially then you're out of the game. So we got to be smart, treat it like a game.
This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. That the voice of Las Vegas Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak. And I love right now the parallels between the Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys. Two legacy franchises in the National Football League, both trying to reach the halcyon days, the glory days of the past. So Clint Kubiak in that soundbite, what he is referring to, this past Friday, Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby, two of the biggest name players on the team, Cousins and Crosby getting into it at practice. So Crosby, and Max Crosby knows this, right? And this is where, if you're a head coach, this is the kind of thing that drives you nuts, right? Max Crosby, hell, forget about Max Crosby. You know this. You never play. I guess it's possible we could have a former NFL player listening to the show right now, in which case, thank you very much. But in the vast likelihood here is that you, the person watching or listening, did not play in the National Football League. Didn't play major college football. You don't need to have that experience to know that in training camp, you don't hit the starting quarterback of your own team. You don't do it. Max Crosby twice at practice this past Friday in Las Vegas with the Raiders, twice laid his hands on Kirk Cousins, hitting his arm the second time. And Cousins, as you might imagine, and Kirk Cousins doesn't strike you or me, right, as the type of guy that's going to want to fight someone or get in somebody's face. I'm not saying he's not a competitor, but he seems to be a really nice guy, right? He's Bible thumping. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Family man, Bible quotes, right? Doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to get into a fight. But he knows this type of thing is unacceptable. So Cousins gets in Crosby's face, grabs his face mask, and they jaw at each other. They get separated, and Clint Kubiak says no. And both sit out at practice. They returned to practice yesterday. But they had to miss one, right? So Cousins misses a practice. Max Crosby misses a practice. Now think about Max Crosby for a second, right? Who the Raiders tried to trade early, and I'm on record saying there is no reason for Max Crosby to be on this team. None. They can't win this year. They are in an impossible division with the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos. The season is basically all about if Fernando Mendoza has got it as the number one overall pick in the draft, that he should start a quarterback at some point this year. I think he should start in week 1. He won't. Cousins will start. There's no reason for Crosby to be on this team. They need to rebuild. They should the trade to Baltimore was perfect before the Ravens backed out of it. And I think, come trade deadline time, maybe it's the Cowboys. And I've talked about that. But if the Raiders are out of it, if they're not in contention, they should trade Max Crosby, who's an awesome player, but like the Browns with Myles Garrett, there's no longer any reason for this guy to be on the roster. Max Crosby, with his attitude, and I mean this in a good way, by the way. This is not meant to be bad. With his relentless attitude, the tats, and I have tattoos. I don't mean this as a criticism. Smoking the cigar, shirtless in the locker room. Max Crosby is a throwback to the old Raiders. Not the Las Vegas Raiders. Not even really, I guess to a degree, the Los Angeles Raiders. But Max Crosby, to me, feels like an Oakland Raider. An Al Davis Raider. A John Madden Raider. A Tom Flores Raider. An old school, we're going to bend the rules, if not outright break them. We are going to celebrate in the locker room and smoke cigars after the game. We are, I'm going to leave the facility when I get upset, like he did last year when the Raiders shut him down to tank for the first overall pick, which, by the way, got them Fernando Mendoza. It was smart that they did that. He just bounced. Said, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore, and went home. He's an awesome player. This conversation is not, is Max Crosby bad? He's fantastic. One of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. He's great. He's great. Also, at points, he's wildly unprofessional. And I'm not saying that's because of the tats or because of the cigars. That's fine. But I mean, you can't leave the team even if you're pissed at them. You can't hit your quarterback in training camp. You can't do that. We all know it. And Clint Kubiak, the new head coach of this team, coming over from the Seattle Seahawks, right, where he coordinated a really good offense last year with Sam Darnold and JSN, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet and company. They win the Super Bowl. Comes here and he says, you know what? We're changing this culture. We can't have this. It's 2000. And look, I can love the old Raiders, and I do. It's been 50 years, right, since that 1976 team, the first Raiders team in franchise history to win a Super Bowl. After all the failures at the hands of the dynastic Dolphins in 72 and 73, the dynastic Steelers in 74 and 75, the Raiders finally get over the hump with John Madden, and they win Super Bowl 11. It's been 50 years since then. And I don't even need to say you and we. I romanticize that team. And I romanticize that era of Raiders football. I think that might be those teams in the 70s with the Raiders. I'm not even talking the team that won in 80. I'm not talking the team that won in 83. I'm talking the 76 team. Might be the single coolest team in the history, not just of the NFL, but in professional sports. They're awesome. Watch the America's Game, the documentary about the 76 Raiders, and tell me it doesn't give you goosebumps and give you chills. They're the best. This is why the Raiders are such a national team. Why, despite the fact that they've sucked for this entire century pretty much, right? Why so many people root for them. Why so many people love them. Because when people were growing up, they were the coolest team. They were the bad boys. They were the anti-heroes. They were the coolest. It's 50 years ago. It's a different world. It's a different landscape today. You can't have this. You can't have the star pass rusher. And I don't care if it's going to hurt him or not. If this is he's not drilling him into the ground and landing with all his body weight, right? It's not the point. You can't do it. You can't do it. And he's doing it. He deserved to get sat down. And I don't know if Kirk Cousins deserved to have to miss a practice, because I think we probably all would have reacted the same way. Kind of sends a pretty good message, though, right, that he did. New sheriff in town, not going to tolerate this nonsense. I love that from Clint Kubiak. And think about the stark departure, you bet on this Tuesday, Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports, from what we saw last year with this team. With Grandpa and the Three Stooges running the show, and how brutal this coaching staff was last year in Vegas. With a terrible offensive line, Pete Carroll hiring his son to coach the offensive line, Ashton Genty basically running into brick walls constantly. They can't get Brock Bowers the ball. Geno Smith, who I don't think anyone's going to confuse with Patrick Mahomes, but Geno Smith is not nearly as bad as he was last season. Just an absolute bleep show with the Raiders. That was the dysfunctional Las Vegas Raiders that we have seen too often this century. I am not suggesting that it's going to manifest this year in terms of wins and losses. The Raiders are in a tough spot. The division they play in is ridiculous. It's really, really good. And while there is legitimate cause for excitement with Mendoza, Genty, Bowers, Tyler Linderbaum comes over to play center. We'll see if any of these wide receivers can step up. Malik Benson, like a late round rookie, is getting a lot of hype. There is reason for optimism. It's not going to happen this year in terms of wins and losses. It's just not. They don't have enough talent on the roster. It's going to be all about if Fernando Mendoza, when he gets into the lineup, not if, but when Mendoza plays, if Mendoza shows that he can be #the guy, season's a success. And the other benchmark that I think we can look at for the Raiders in terms of success will be, is this a professional team? In the way they conduct themselves, in the way they handle their business. It's early. It's August 11th. A lot of time for this to go haywire, like it has, unfortunately, because I, as a football fan, and as someone that talks about sports for a living, I want the Raiders to be good. The NFL is more fun when the Raiders are good. Are they going to be professional? Are they going to prevent the drama from happening? Not let things go haywire. Thus far in the process, I think we can all say it, off to a pretty good start under the leadership of Clint Kubiak. On the other side, a lot of Dallas Cowboys tie-ins on the show in the opening hour here today. We will talk about Micah Parsons and what he said to NFL Network yesterday about when he will return this regular season. And let me just say, the scriptwriters will love it. And there is a team last season involved in the Dallas Cowboys that I think will exceed expectations this year. We'll talk about it next.
there a timeline, Mike? Do you have something in your mind? Like I see there's the Dallas Cowboys are on the schedule this year, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, does that sort of get you a little excited, maybe?
Mid-October-ish,
Yeah,
right?
that's the most optimistic like that I can be back.
Yeah.
But of course, I can be later. There can be setbacks.
Yeah.
There can be
Sure.
Trying to integrate back to football is completely different than running on cones and ladders in the indoor.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM players will receive a WNBA odds boost token. To use the token, add a WNBA wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. That the voice of Green Bay Packers pass rusher Micah Parsons on NFL Network yesterday with friend of the show, Odyssey Sports NFL insider, the great Brian Baldinger, revealing that the most optimistic date for his return this season from last year's late season ACL tear against the Denver Broncos, Week 6, Sunday Night Football, against his old team, the Dallas Cowboys. The script writers are all over it, and I'm joking, obviously, but this is the sort of thing that if you were scripting sports, this is exactly what you would want. Parsons making his season debut against the Dallas Cowboys. And Micah Parsons' eventual return to the lineup for the Green Bay Packers means everything. As it stands right now, the Packers, who have been a perennial playoff team, basically in the entire Matt LaFleur era, with Jordan Love as quarterback certainly, are yes price at BetMGM, minus 150 to make the playoffs. So the betting market thinks Green Bay will be one of the 7 playoff teams, and Green Bay's win total is sitting at 9.5. I am having a bit of a tough time at the moment trying to figure out what to do with the Green Bay Packers. This would be very easy if Green Bay played in the NFC South. Packers would just be division champions. No big deal. If you put the Packers in the AFC South, look, I love the Texans and the Jaguars. Green Bay, I think, could be just as good as Jacksonville this year. NFC North with Detroit. I don't love the Lions this year because I don't like Detroit's defense, but the upside is there with the offense, certainly. The Lions. The Bears, year 2 of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, second year in the Ben Johnson system. I think the Vikings have tremendous upside as long as Kyler Murray wins the job over J.J. McCarthy. And I think if we are going to objectively look at the Packers, we have to acknowledge a couple different outcomes, right? Would it really surprise anybody, really, even with questions on the offensive line, even with questions on defense? Because outside of Parsons, there are really not that many difference-making players on this Green Bay Packers defense. So even with Parsons, I think the offense can be good enough that it wouldn't shock me if Green Bay went 12-5 this season. I think that's in the range of outcomes. Like Matt LaFleur, I know Packers fans are not really into at the moment, it feels like. He got the extension, even though Green Bay collapsed down the stretch of the season. Packers losing their final 5 games, including Wild Card Weekend on the road in Chicago against the Bears. LaFleur got his extension. He wins games every year. Even if you don't think he's great and Packers fans don't really like him that much, he does win a ton of games. And Jordan Love has shown outstanding upside. Tucker Kraft's going to be back. It looks like they have really filtered this offense down at the receiver position where it'll be Christian Watson. I'm really excited about Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and last year's first-round pick Matthew Golden. I like that a lot. We'll see about Josh Jacobs if he gets suspended, but I'm excited about Marshawn Lloyd, who looks to finally be healthy. Lloyd! And Matt LaFleur generally builds an offensive scheme that protects his offensive line. There's excitement there. Now, if the defense can click, right? Parsons comes back, and they obviously need him. And Jonathan Gannon, who, the former Cardinals coach and Eagles defensive coordinator, who's now the DC in Green Bay, with former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, now the head coach in Miami with the Dolphins. Jonathan Gannon gets that unit clicking. Packers are going to win 12 games this year. And they could go to the Super Bowl. Like, that's the upside for the Packers is to go to and, win the Super Bowl. Not many teams, even if I don't think it's going to happen, that's in the range of outcomes for Green Bay. I also think it's in the range of outcomes for Green Bay to go 8-9. Wouldn't be that surprising. Because just as easily as you can tell yourself a story that Parsons comes back and the defense clicks, and maybe Lucas Van Ness has a breakout season rushing the passer, and Edgerrin Cooper takes the next step at linebacker, and the young corners play better, and Xavier McKinney's a stud in the back end, and Evan Williams can be the star that a lot of people think he can be at safety. As easily as you can say that and build a good story for Green Bay, you can easily say, well, you know what? The defense just isn't good enough. And the Jonathan Gannon hire isn't going to inspire a lot of people. You can make that case. And we got time to figure it out. We got a month until Green Bay's first game on the road in Minnesota, Sunday, September 13th. I don't even want to say, I don't know where I stand on Green Bay. I think I'm going to have them on the outside looking in of the playoffs because I like Minnesota, I like Chicago, I like Dallas, I like Philly. The NFC South has to send one team to the playoffs, even though I don't like any of them. The NFC West is going to send at least 2, maybe 3. I think for me, Green Bay's got to be on the outside looking in. But I am acknowledging and admitting that there is big-time upside with the Green Bay Packers and Micah Parsons as well. You bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. Now, I said to start the show that there is a team that you are expecting to be bad, that I think could contend for a wild card berth this year. That team has a win total of 5.5. And that team is connected to the Dallas Cowboys, which I referenced last segment, by virtue of the Quinnen Williams trade at last year's trade deadline. That, the New York Jets. Pause for a second for dramatic effect to let all of you be like, what the hell is he talking about? Also, obviously, trading Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts at the trade deadline. Look, I know that the Jets are a moribund franchise. They've been a doormat. They're a laughingstock. Longest active playoff drought in any of the major North American sports. Last year, 0 interceptions, which seems impossible, and Aaron Glenn looked way over his head as the head coach of the team. And I will say this off the bat. If I'm wrong here, and the Jets stink again, and they're going to bottom out, which, by the way, you can make a case that's not the worst thing for the team, given they have 3 first-round picks and would get their quarterback of the future, like you would think so, next year in the 2027 NFL Draft. The way it goes wrong is if Aaron Glenn's as bad as he was last year, and Frank Reich, who's calling the offense, who, to be fair, was brutal in his last couple stops as an NFL play caller. Remember what happened in Carolina? Didn't even make it 1 season in Bryce Young's rookie year. If Aaron Glenn stinks and Frank Reich stinks, that's how this is going to go poorly. My thing with the Jets, though, and I would encourage you to do this, look at the players on their roster. Like, they have a lot of good players. The offensive line is going to be, at worst, above average. Maybe it's just slightly above average, but it's not going to be bad, barring injury. Fashanu, I like it, tackle, and the other Armand Membu might be the best player on offense per reports at training camp. They have 2 solid young bookend tackles, and I like the interior of the line. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Breece Hall's a stud. You know I like the upside of A.D. Mitchell. Omar Cooper in the first round from Indiana catching the football. Mason Taylor, last year's second-round pick at tight end. Kenyon Sadiq, this year's first-round pick at tight end, battling an injury right now. Maybe he doesn't make an impact early in the season, but I think he should make an impact as the season goes along. David Bailey, the second overall pick in the draft, has looked amazing per all the reports at Jets camp. Imagine if he can get after the quarterback, and he has a good year rushing the passer. To go along with Joseph Asai and David Onyemata and the trade for Devondre Sweat, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Nashawn Wright coming over at cornerback. D'Angelo Pons looks like an Aaron Glenn clone potentially, undersized cornerback who wants to get up in your face. They have good players. Like, the Jets are not the Miami Dolphins. And you can make the case that the Dolphins organizationally are on a better arc than the Jets. And that we don't know if Jeff Hafley's good or bad, and maybe you're convinced that Aaron Glenn is bad. But I'll tell you what, the Jets are not like the Dolphins. They are not, talent-wise, one of the worst teams in the league. And if Geno Smith can rediscover some of his Seattle form at quarterback, the Jets could win 8 games this year. They could win 9 games this year. Think about it. If Glenn and Reich are not disasters, this should be a team that come November is still in the playoff mix in the AFC. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you. Coming up on the other side, we start in the NBA.
are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. A lot of fun National Football League topics in the first hour of the show. The Quinnen Williams extension in Dallas. Nice piece of business by Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the Dallas Cowboys. Well-deserved payday for Quinnen Williams, who should be a beast in the middle of the defensive line this year for Dallas. And right now, no drama with the Cowboys. Think about how rare that is. No real drama. But some of it lurking on the horizon. If you squint, you can see it. CeeDee Lamb openly campaigning for George Pickens to get an extension. Pickens set to play this year on the one-year franchise tag, going to make a ton of money, but he wants long-term security. And in defense of George Pickens, he wants that long-term security the same way that you would, the same way that I would. And what happens if George Pickens starts to get annoyed and takes his grievances public? Then what happens? And the drama returns to the Dallas Cowboys in a season where I believe there should be legitimate excitement that this could be a super season in Dallas for the first time since the mid-1990s. We got into the Las Vegas Raiders. I like the fact that Clint Kubiak, a new sheriff in town, not going to let Max Crosby break the rules and get away with it, not going to let Max Crosby hit Kirk Cousins during training camp practices, and also not going to let Cousins get away with grabbing Crosby's face mask. Both got sat down over the weekend. Both returned to practice yesterday. I don't think the Raiders are going to be good this year in terms of wins and losses, but I do think that Clint Kubiak is going to get them on the right track to compete in 2027 and beyond. We touched on the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons telling NFL Network that his most optimistic return date is Sunday Night Football against his old team, the Dallas Cowboys, in week number 6, and how great that is. And I think there's a wide range of outcomes this year for the Green Bay Packers. They need Parsons. Not going to have him most likely for the first 5 games of the year. I do think the offense will be great this year with Jordan Love as the trigger man, a more truncated receiver tree with Watson, Golden, and Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft back from the ACL. I think Green Bay has the potential this year to go 12-5. I also think in the range of outcomes for Green Bay, 8-9 would not really shock me. I still have time to make my final decision on what I want to do with the Green Bay Packers this year. As of right now, I'm leaning towards having them on the outside looking in of the postseason. And we close the hour giving credit. We don't do this often to the New York Jets. I know. They stink. Stunk for a long time. Punchline, laughingstock, doormat. No interceptions last year. Aaron Glenn looks way over his head, and maybe he is. Or maybe, just maybe, the talent on the roster is really good. And the defense will regress positively. Ask yourself this. What are the chances the Jets have no interceptions again? Is that actually a realistic outcome? No way. The defense is they're going to force more turnovers. It's almost statistically impossible that they don't. David Bailey looks great at training camp. The 2nd overall pick rushing the passer out of Texas Tech. I think no way Geno's as bad as he was last year in Vegas with that terrible infrastructure with the Raiders. I like the offensive line. I like the 2 tackles. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, Omar Cooper, Mason Taylor, Kenyon Sadiq. Good players. You think that's a 5-win team? 4-win team? Only if Aaron Glenn is even worse than we think. And Frank Reich is even worse than we think calling the offense. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets finish around 500 this year. And I know that sounds crazy because they always stink. I'm expecting things to be different this year in Florham Park for the New York Jets. Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports does a great job covering the National Football League and sports betting for our pals at Yahoo. Coming up later this hour, we'll get to Major League Baseball at the end of the hour as well, and I will explain to everybody why this stretch of games coming up is very important for the World Series favorite, Los Angeles Dodgers. But man, today for sports fans might as well be Christmas morning. And we have Christmas games announced, which I thought was really awesome. And just from the perspective of a sports talk show host, you love it before your show comes on the air when you get a very, very delectable piece of breaking news. I was in ecstasy before the show started. Before 9 o'clock Eastern time this morning, on this Tuesday, when I got the notification on my phone from ESPN's Shams Charania. Oh, yeah, haven't said that name in a little bit. We haven't had any NBA news in a little bit. Oh, we got some today. Adam Silver had been Kim. Hey, LeBron, can you pick a team so we can set the schedule? Well, LeBron picked the Philadelphia 76ers, and now we have a schedule. The NBA season 2026-27 will open on Tuesday, October 20th. Yes, I will say right off the bat, it is strange that the first game of the year will be played on Tuesday afternoon, which feels to me like the NBA looking at what the National Football League is doing and saying, yeah, let's get weird here. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time on Tuesday, October 20th, the NBA season will open with the Boston Celtics hosting the Detroit Pistons. Later that night on Tuesday, October 20th, and I'm being dead serious right now. If this doesn't get you going, are you even a sports fan? It's a harsh thing to say. Harsh, but true. Because later that night, on Tuesday, October 20th, we get the doubleheader of doubleheaders. The New York Knicks, the reigning, defending, world champion New York Knicks, will open their season, unveil the championship banner next to other banners at Madison Square Garden like Billy Joel consecutive sellout streak, Atlantic Division champions 15 years ago. This is a real banner. Rangers Eastern Conference champions. No, this is a real banner. New York Knicks NBA champions. They will get their rings and have the big celebration that night when they host LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and the Philadelphia 76ers. How good is that? And then the nightcap. Western Conference Final rematch in San Antonio. The Spurs hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. How good is that? Are you fired up? Are you excited for Tuesday, October 20th? Pistons Celtics, Sixers Knicks, Thunder Spurs. And then moments later, we got the Christmas Day slate. The opening game on Christmas Day. And by the way, Christmas is supposed to be a day for family. Yeah, got a lot going on Christmas this year. Because not only do we have 3 stellar NFL games, at least on paper before the season starts, Packers at Bears, Bills at Broncos, and then Rams at Seahawks in the nightcap, where sometimes we get on these holiday nights like a crappy game, and I get to say to my wife, like, hey, like I don't necessarily have to watch every play of this game. We can hang out, as a family on a holiday. What a novel concept. Not this year with Rams Seahawks in the nightcap. On Christmas, we get Spurs Knicks NBA Finals rematch at the Garden. Heat Celtics, so Giannis in Miami going to Boston. We get LeBron James going back to LA, Sixers at the Lakers. We get the Thunder at LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then the night game kind of sucks. It'll go against Rams Seahawks. No one will watch it. That's fine. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets at the Golden State Warriors, which is just, hey, Steph Curry's still playing, right? let's throw the Warriors a bone and put them on Christmas night, even if I believe will be a depressing team this year, just because I feel like they cannot win a championship. So this is awesome. And there are things, right, that the NBA can't get out of its own way with. Like, a lot of people are upset with the second apron and the financial restrictions put on teams. And this Kawhi Leonard situation is absolutely ridiculous. Like, Kawhi, there's a report that Kawhi feels like the trade will go through to the Raptors. Like, it's August 11th. The season's starting in a couple months. Like, can the NBA make a decision? Like, where is Kawhi Leonard playing this year? Seems important. Even with all the nonsense. And I'll be honest, some of this almost has to do with the fact that my favorite team is the reigning champion. This is the most excited I've been for an NBA season in I can't tell you how long. And to be clear, and you know this if you're a longtime listener or viewer of the show, I love the NBA. I'm always excited for basketball season. I love talking about it on this show. I love watching the games. I love betting on them. It's tremendous. It's fantastic. I can't remember being this excited for a season. You bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. The storylines, the player movements, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's going to be incredible. And I'll give you some opinions just on the games on opening night right now. So Celtics-Pistons, 3 o'clock here. Again, weird start time, but I'm pretty excited for the game. So this will be obviously Boston's first game since trading Jaylen Brown, Paul George coming over to join Jason Tatum. And the Celtics are a team that the betting market really likes, like basically right up there with the Knicks to win the Eastern Conference. And I'm expecting, and look, it's August 11th. I reserve the right to change my mind. Tell me how the Celtics are not beating the Pistons in this opening game. And I know, and Pistons fans call me a hater, and I have to acknowledge, they actually might be right. Even though, not that the Pistons are a threat to my Knicks, but I look at them, and I don't really take the Pistons seriously. Even though they were the 1 seed this year in the East, even though Cade Cunningham is going to be a legitimate MVP candidate for years to come, even though they won 60-plus games last year. Do you seriously? Do you really look at the Pistons and say, this team has got tremendous upside this year, as far as winning a championship goes? You can't say it. You cannot say that. You actually can't. Here's John Collins to save the day. Do you find it a little strange? It's August 11th. This Jalen Duren situation has still not resolved itself with the Pistons. And I think there's going to be a lot of acrimony there. And I'm not even blaming the Pistons for it. Duren, who was an all-star last year, all NBA caliber player, pulls a disappearing act in the playoffs. He's terrible against Orlando. He's terrible against Cleveland. What's going to happen? Is Jalen Duren going to be back with the Pistons long term? This has not resolved itself yet. It's August 11th. The season's a little more than 2 months away. I'm not saying the Pistons can't win 55 games this year in the regular season. I just don't take them seriously as a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference. And I can be wrong. I think I'm going to be right. Because I've said it, the biggest threat this year in the Eastern Conference to my New York Knicks is going to be the Sixers. And it might not happen right away as the team kind of gels together, but when it's all said and done and we get to the playoffs, and whether Philly's the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 5 seed, the 6 seed, I don't really think it matters. The only thing that's going to matter for Philly is, do you get to the postseason and everybody's healthy? Is Embiid healthy? First and foremost, right? Is Joel Embiid healthy? Is LeBron healthy? Because you're going to feel good about Jaylen Brown playing. You're going to feel good about Maxey playing. You're going to feel good about Edgecombe playing. If Embiid and LeBron, if they're healthy come playoff time, the Sixers are a big problem. And a potential big problem for my Knicks. Because the upside of that team is to win a championship in year 1. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm not going to pick them or bet them to win the championship. But I think you're nuts if you don't think that's in the range of outcomes. And I guarantee, The Rock guarantees that you are going to hear and you are going to read and you are going to see a lot of people say, well, they can't win in year 1. Look what happened in Miami year one. Made the finals and got blistered by the Mavericks in the finals. It's going to take time for all of it to come together. And next year, maybe, the Sixers can win a championship. To which I say, poppycock. They can win it this year. Now, you need Embiid to be healthy and you need LeBron to be healthy. It's not impossible that happens, even if it's unlikely. And if that happens, they can win the championship. But they're not beating the Knicks on opening night. The New York Knicks are the ultimate team. Shaking the ropes, no selling, guerrilla press, big splash, 1, 2, 3. Done, 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 done. The Knicks are the ultimate team. And I think the Sixers can morph into a tremendous, cohesive team as the year goes on. Not on night one. The Sixers are going to be walking into the Hornets' nest. The Sixers are going to be walking, oh God, I love to say this. I watched the 1990 New York Giants VHS, video yearbook of that championship season approximately 6 million times growing up. And one of the things that always struck me, I still remember it to this day, to right now, at this moment, right now, before the Giants played the Niners in the 1990 NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park. Remember, the Niners at that point were going for the three-peat, and the Giants stopped it on a Matt Barr field goal to win 15-13 as time expired. There is a shot of Jeff Hostetler warming up before the game, and over Jeff Hostetler's head is the scoreboard at the old Candlestick Park, and it reads, "Welcome to the home of the defending champions." With the dramatic, I have chills right now, with the dramatic NFL Films music playing in the background. On opening night, Tuesday, October 20th, the Philadelphia 76ers will be welcomed into the home of the defending world champions. If I could curse on this show, I would say F yeah right now. Instead, I'll say hell yeah. Knicks are beating the Sixers on night one. And I think when it's all said and done, the Knicks will win the Eastern Conference again. And then there's Thunder Spurs. Oh, man. Oh, man. After I want to say it actually wasn't an epic series in terms of quality of games, but in terms of the quality of the teams. Spurs Thunder Western Conference Final was an exceptional viewing experience. Again, even if we can all acknowledge that game one was legendary with the Spurs winning in double overtime, Wemby with the logo 3, if you remember, and then San Antonio taking it to the Thunder and winning on the road in game 7. It was not the greatest series in terms of dramatic games, but man, the quality of those two teams through the roof. And we expect, right? Now, things can happen. Injuries can happen. Upsets could potentially happen. But as it stands right now, I think that these are the two conference finals on night one. Sixers, Knicks, Thunder, Spurs. Sixers, Knicks, Eastern Conference Final. Thunder, Spurs, Western Conference Final. And we get them on night one. And you know that the Thunder out for revenge. Looking for revenge. And they're going to look a little different this year. Because in order to get under the second apron, they had to jettison some players. Lou Dort and Aaron Wiggins are now both members of the Atlanta Hawks by virtue of trades pulled by Sam Presti, acquiring $1 billion second-round picks in the process. Kind of like the evolved version of what the Celtics did last year, trading Porzingis and Drew Holiday to get under the luxury tax. And the Thunder now, with two big-name rookies. And I'm not insinuating they'll play a huge role on night one, but Adai Mara is probably going to play, right? You'd think we see some Adai Mara on night one, right? Guarding Victor Wembanyama, even if it's just, hey, Adai, go in there and foul the crap out of Victor Wembanyama to save Isaiah Hartenstein, to save Chet Holmgren. Bennett Sturtz is now a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you just know that Bennett Sturtz is going to come in as the season goes on, and he's going to run this second team of OKC to perfection while SGA is on the bench. Then there's San Antonio, right? Where remember we had said, Wemby and Castle and Harper, 22, 21, 20. Now, right? I think how insane this is. 23, 22, 21 for those three studs. Dylan Harper going to start game one? He going to come off the bench? Is De'Aaron Fox going to come off the bench? Interesting to think about, right? And the Thunder in the draft with Quaintance from Kentucky, Taris Reed from UConn. You don't think they are ready and they're expecting this to be an uber physical season, and they didn't take these two kids in the draft to try and spell Victor Wembanyama a little bit and inject some more physicality down low, along with Luke Cornett? Of course they did. These matchups are going to be must-see with the Thunder and Spurs. And oh, by the way, the hope is going to be that J-Dub is going to be back. And J-Dub's going to play in that game. And is it going to go differently, game one of this season, than the final game of last season did for the Oklahoma City Thunder? Isn't it incredible to think about? Are you not entertained? Are you not excited for this? Forget, Piston Celtics is nice. 3 o'clock Eastern. Nice little sky rockets in flight. Boom! Afternoon delight. Yeah, it's okay. But then we get conference final previews on night one. Sixers, Knicks, Thunder, Spurs. Do you love it? I know you do. And so do I. We will break down the Christmas Day slate later in the show. Can't wait to talk about it. Giannis and the Miami Heat, my expectations for them this year. The new look Los Angeles Lakers, the new look Minnesota Timberwolves, and whatever the hell's going on with the Golden State Warriors. But on the other side, we return the conversation to the National Football League. Joining me to break it down, my friend Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports, here on, say, You Better You Bet Westwood One Sports. I just said sports. You Better You Bet Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
Prescott has some time. Loading up, going deep. Pickens. He's got it! Oh, come on!
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Football's almost back when we get the Tom Brady, in the background of a Kevin Burkhardt call. The call last season on Fox. You know that the Dallas Cowboys and George Pickens hoping for more of those plays this year. But if and when he makes those plays, and let's be real, he's awesome. Dak's awesome. More likely to be when than if. George Pickens has been quiet thus far this offseason, set to play on the franchise tag, no long-term deal. What happens when and if, and be honest with yourself, which of those two it's more likely to be, George Pickens starts taking his grievances public? And I like the Cowboys this year. I'm just saying, what if that happens? And what happens if and when it does? Joining us now to break down that and the rest of the comings and goings in the National Football League, one of my absolute favorites. We spent time in Vegas together. I've been reading his work for years. Great NFL coverage and also sports betting coverage for our friends at Yahoo Sports. My pal, Frank Schwab, on Twitter at Yahoo Schwab. Frank, welcome back to the show. Your pal, Nikki K. How's it going?
It's going great, man. It's been too long. As I told you yesterday when you texted me, congrats on your Knicks. I know that's a big deal for you, as it was for my Bucks 5 years ago. So, yeah, it's great to be back with you, man. It's been too long since we chopped it up.
Great. Let's chop it up. Let's talk some National Football League, and let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. And, Frank, I led the show with it. It's been a quiet offseason, and that's a good thing, right, for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. Quentin Williams extension, nice piece of business. I'm just projecting this out. There's got to be some type of drama lurking around the corner. Maybe you agree with that. Maybe you disagree with that. And where are you at right now in the 2026 Dallas Cowboys?
Well, part of it is Jerry invites the drama. He loves it. He loves when his team is in the headlines. He's the only owner in the NFL that understands this is an entertainment business. Oh, by the way, he also has the most valuable franchise in the world in sports. So there's a correlation there that other owners don't get. Jerry's going to invite some drama. He's going to do it. But, you talk about George Pickens, and I like the Cowboys a lot this year. I actually picked him to win the NFC East. I had him really high in my power rankings, maybe higher than everybody else. I think I had him 8th. So I'm really on board with this Cowboys team, but I'm with you that the one thing that could kind of ruin this all is George Pickens being George Pickens. It's a guy who got in a fight during a Hail Mary during a game at Cleveland. Do you remember that, right? Like, he's literally brawling in the end zone as the Hail Mary's in the air. Like, what are we doing with this guy? And even last year, which was relatively quiet in terms of George Pickens, there was still that incident in Vegas where both him and CeeDee Lamb got benched for the first series because maybe they were out like me and you were so many years ago out in Vegas doing some things they shouldn't have been doing. So even last year wasn't totally drama-free. And yes, George has been quiet so far. And logically, you would think just be quiet for a year, put up those stats again, get paid like Alec Pierce on the other side of the season. This is George Pickens we're talking about. Yeah, I am worried about that. And also, still, the defense has a long way to go. I mean, even a massive, massive improvement. That puts them middle of the pack? They were the worst defense in the NFL last year. So few concerns with the Cowboys, but I'm on board, man. I really like the vibes from that team. I've never heard a team go 7-9-1 like them and talk Super Bowl as much as they do. Like, they're just out there. Brian Schottenheimer, Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott. Yeah, Super Bowl. This is the year. Like, it's kind of crazy how much they're talking about that already.
So I think what's interesting about that, right, and I may pick the Cowboys to win the NFC East. I think I'll have Dallas as a playoff team. I'm not there yet. But if, Frank, it's true that you like Dallas to win the division, obviously that means the Philadelphia Eagles will not win the division. And that doesn't mean you think the Eagles are going to have the first pick in the draft, but no longer division winning caliber team. What about your opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles heading into the season?
Yeah, this is Narrative Street a little bit, but the vibes are really off with them. They were last year. Now, look, a couple of years ago, the vibes were off with them. They came back and won a Super Bowl. Like, it's just Philly. You deal with drama. You deal with this angst all the time. So maybe this is just Philly being Philly. But I just don't love the way Jalen Hurts played last year. The offense had a lot to do with that. But the hire coordinator, Sean Mannion, who's never done this before, he's really, really inexperienced. He'll be an upgrade for sure. But I still just don't love Philly this year. Now, look, they could go 13-4, 14-3. They have that kind of roster. We know that. But I just don't love Philly coming into this season. It's hard to fade them. It really is, because they just have that talented roster. And again, maybe I'm overplaying the drama and the angst and all the stuff that went on with them in the locker room last year. But you get rid of A.J. Brown. Look, A.J. Brown, defenses had to respect him. Even if he didn't put up unbelievable numbers last year, you still had to account for him every play in a way you don't have to account for Dontavian Wicks. Like, it's just not a thing. So a lot of changes with Philly. I think they're taking a step back. Well, I think Dallas is really, really motivated to have a big year. We'll see. Burn the tape, by the way, if Philly does go 14-3, because it is very scary to fade them going into a season.
It's certainly in the range of outcomes, but it's also in the range of outcomes that things could go poorly. I think the Eagles are a fascinating team heading into the season. I want to hit on a couple of quarterback competitions going on in training camps with you, Frank, and let's go to Cleveland, where I think, based on a small conversation we had off air before we came on for this segment, I think you're going to disagree with this potentially. My opinion, if the Browns are going to exceed expectations this year, and we're going to look back on this and say, wow, I can't believe Cleveland won that many, even if it's 7 or 8 games, right? I think it has to be Deshaun Watson, not Shedeur Sanders. Even if I don't necessarily think Watson can do it, I think that he has the potential ceiling to do it in a Todd Monken offense. What say you on this Browns quarterback, quote-unquote, battle? I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson with Watson and Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, like, what else are we doing that's hypothetical, Nick? Bernie Kosar gets in a time machine and goes back to his prime and lifts the Browns to a playoff. Deshaun Watson can't play anymore. He stinks. He's been bad for like 5 years. And we all know the off-field stuff. I seriously don't get why Cleveland has set up this media blitz to get us used to the idea that Deshaun Watson's going to be their starter. It started last year. I wrote about this in my Browns preview. You can go look at all the timeline on this. December 6th last year, both Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, out of absolutely the blue, report, hey, Deshaun Watson's going to be on the roster next year, and he has a chance to start. Like, what? Like, where's that coming from? This dude ain't even playing. And then since then, there's been this drumbeat out of Cleveland. Oh, Deshaun Watson, he's a new guy. He has no ill will towards Cleveland. Like, why would he? And the Browns are doing this media blitz to get everybody on board with Deshaun Watson starting. Like, what are you guys doing? Do you guys not understand the term sunk cost? Like, this is over. Deshaun Watson can't play. He's terrible. I would rather start.
Well, can I split the difference? Can I split the difference here?
Go ahead.
There's no debating that he's a sunk cost. Like, yes. I'm never going to say, like, it's one of the worst trades and contracts, if not the worst, in the history of sports. Like, there's no arguing it, right? But I do think, and I said this at the time, and I don't want to come across like a Deshaun Watson apologist here, because I don't mean to be. I mean that. I never felt like he was a fit for the Stefanski offense. He did get hurt a number of times here. Theoretically, he should be healthier now, even though he's coming off multiple Achilles tears, a shoulder injury a couple years ago. Look, like, the facts are, like, it is true. And I do like his fit in the Todd Monken offense. I like Concepcion. I like Boston. I like Judkins. I like Fannin. I don't know how good the offensive line can be, but I do think it potentially sets up for him to not be an all-pro or a Pro Bowler, but to maybe exceed expectations this year in a way, Frank, that I don't think Shedeur Sanders can. That's where I would come down on this for Watson.
I agree with you in that theory, but I still think the ceiling with Deshaun Watson is like 7 wins, because he's just, what is he, like the 27th
But wouldn't
best
that be
quarterback in the
surprising?
NFL?
Like, you don't
people
would be shocked by that.
Here's what it does, Nick. You go 7-10, what happens? You draft, 12th? All of a sudden, you're out of the quarterback derby in 2027. You've killed your franchise for another few years by that. Like, you need to get a quarterback. You almost need to start Shedeur. Start Dylan Gabriel. Start Taylor Green.
Taylor Green would be the guy, I think, yeah.
You can't go 7-10. You just can't. It is absolutely horrific to your franchise if you go 7-10. By the way, speaking of that, I think there's a lot of teams this year that are going to tank. I think we need to keep an eye on that in a way that has not happened before in the NFL. I think teams like Miami, Arizona, when you're going to look, the Raiders provided a blueprint last year by putting Brock Bowers, putting Max Crosby on IR before that big game against the Giants, which you remember. The NFL said, no, we saw no signs of tanking. Every other team that's looking towards 2027 draft. Look, when I wrote my previews, there were so many teams at the bottom of the league that the theme was they're just waiting for 2027 to get their quarterback. The Jets, another team. I think you're going to see, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah, you got to get that surgery right now, buddy. Like, you can't wait. I know it's only Thanksgiving, but you better go get it done now. That's what the NBA did this year. I think we're going to see that in the NFL for the first time. We've seen tanking in the NFL before. I think you're going to see widespread this year. I just think there's too much on the line. There's too much on the line in the 2027 draft.
You know what's funny about that? And you bet. Nick Kostos, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. Our guest, Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports on Twitter, at Yahoo Schwab. So the Dolphins are the one team where I don't think they need to try and tank.
No,
like the roster.
No, they don't. My goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Can I hit you with a betting take for week one? That I
Please.
think might knock your socks off. I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Raiders in Vegas in week. I think they're going to run for like 250 yards in that game with Malik Willis and Devon Achane. Like the Raiders aren't that good. They're favored by 3 anyway. So Miami, I don't think is going to have to try and tag. Some of the other teams you reference now, just like the Browns, right? The Browns have really good players on all 3 levels of their defense, even with Myles Garrett gone, right? The Jets, I just did this to end the hour. Like, the only way the Jets are going to go like 3-14 is if Aaron Glenn is even worse than we think and Frank Reich is worse than we think. The roster's good. And how about this on Arizona? Now, the Cardinals can't be good because they play in an impossible division. Like, their roster's not bad either. So I don't disagree with the thought process of we get to the end of the year, a couple games to go, derby for the number 1 overall pick, sit a bunch of players. But some of these teams with really low win totals, I actually think, aside from Miami, these rosters are really not that bad.
Right. But the Jets, you do have to account for Aaron Glenn. Like, that was such a disaster last year. And I don't think Frank Reich in year 2026 is anybody's answer.
You might be right.
Yes, and I mean, you get Arizona, toughest schedule in the NFL, and their defense is awful. Yeah, they do have some skill position guys, don't get me wrong, but I think you're going to see, I don't care what happened at a Hall of Fame game, they're going to go to Carson Beck, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's why he was a 3rd-round pick in a really weak draft. I think that Arizona has a chance to have the worst record just because of their schedule. I don't think they're worse than the Dolphins, but their schedule is brutal. You look at, I think they're double-digit dogs in, 6 of the first 7, 7 of the first 7?
It's brutal. They could start 0-10, and I like a lot of the players on the roster.
Exactly. I do too, but their defense is horrendous. Like, their defense is going to be really, really bad this year. So take the over in all their games pretty much. But you're just going to see, again, what's the benefit of going 6-11? And I think going back to the Browns, you look at Todd Monken. Look, he's 60 years old. He's getting his first job as a head coach. You're not going to convince him to sit guys. You're not going to convince him to go in on a tank. He might not be around if they go 2-15. They might be a one and done. And so I just thought Todd Monken honestly was kind of a bad fit for the Browns, even though he's a good coach and pretty good hire in a vacuum. I think for this year, the Browns need to lose. There's a lot of teams, and I know it's so against NFL culture to tank. It's an NBA thing, not an NFL thing. But there's just so many teams that have no hope right now because the quarterback situation's so bad, and they're looking forward to next year when it's Dante Moore and all these guys coming out, Arch Manning, whatever. I just think it's going to be a storyline in December. Call me back. I'll be back on the show in December to talk about this because I think we're going to see teams sitting guys. I think we're going to see teams putting guys on IR with fake injuries. It's going to be a thing because, again, the 2027 draft, we've talked about it for months. It is a thing. The 2027 draft is what people are looking forward to.
I agree with that 100%. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch some of these teams, again, that have some talent. How are they going to manage this? Right?
The Browns have talent. The Browns have a good roster around a quarterback.
And then we get into, like, the Jets have 3 first-round picks. The Browns have multiple first-round picks to maneuver around the board. So this is going to be really fast. And, like, Arizona only has 1 pick. Like, what are they going to do?
One. It's going to be number 1.
I mean, it very well could be. And just, I wanted the Giant Monken to go to New York with John Harbaugh to coordinate the Giants offense. I like him. Sure. There is a whiff of potential David Culley, Lovie Smith there as potential one and done, like we saw in Houston recently.
I hate that for
I hate it too. Couple quick ones here. Let's give me a minute here on the Vikings quarterback battle. Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy. Your thoughts on it, what's going to happen, and how you feel about the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't think it's competition at all. They brought in Kyler Murray to start, and they're just doing this charade. In case there's that 5% chance J.J. McCarthy just emerges and beats him. I will say, though, from the reports
Can I ask you this? I'm sorry to interrupt you because I think this is so interesting because I feel like, and this is not to insinuate you're wrong, I'm right, or someone else is wrong, or it's all like interpreting like what we're reading, right? So I see a lot, I respect you, right? And I respect a lot of people that are saying the same thing you're saying, which is there is no competition. Kyler's going to win the job. And to be clear, I think Kyler's going to win the job also. But I'm reading stuff that's like JJ's outplaying him. Not every single practice.
That's not JJ McCarthy news. That's Kyler Murray news. Kyler Murray is
that
not a
terrible?
good quarterback. He's not a good quarterback.
God.
Kyler Murray is we keep doing this whole like, oh, this is the year of the breakout. This is the year of the breakout. Kyler Murray has played more NFL games than Terrell Davis, who's in the Hall of Fame. Okay. Like Kyler Murray's played a lot of football. He's not good. He's perfectly reasonable as your 18th best quarterback in the NFL. The breakout ain't happening. And the fact that he can't just totally dust JJ McCarthy in his competition, I don't think that's a JJ McCarthy thing. I think that's a Kyler Murray thing, that he's just showing he's not that good.
And you know what? What sucks? You might be right. Because I want to love the Vikings this year. I want to love KOC and company this year.
They went 9-8 with terrible quarterback play. Kyler Murray could be the 18th best quarterback in the NFL. It's better than 31st. Like, because Browns were worse, but JJ was right behind them.
If he's the 18th best quarterback in the NFL this year, they will finish in what place in the NFC North?
See, that's a problem. It's still fourth, right? Like, it's hard to maybe third because
I think you could make the case they come in first.
You could, yes. I think they have value. Let's put it that way. I think everybody's sleeping
Division's
on them.
crazy.
What if Kyler's better than I think? Like, what if? What if he just had he had that one good year with the Cardinals when they went to the playoffs? What if he's that guy? Okay, yeah, you can talk yourself into it, and at the odds, it's great. I think they're great value to do that.
Give me 30 because we have to take a break. Give me 30 seconds on this. I don't know what to do with the Green Bay Packers this year. And they're in the news because Micah Parsons says he'll be back week 6 against the Cowboys. I think, Frank, they could go 12-5. I also think they could go 8-9, and I wouldn't be surprised. Where are you at on the Packers here? 30 seconds to close.
Yeah, I think that they have just the thinnest gap between ceiling and floor. They're a good football team that's never going to be great. They just don't have that star power to be a Super Bowl contender. But I don't think they're going to be 8-9 either. I really don't. I think they're just too deep, too well coached. Jordan Love's pretty good, and he's going to have to throw the ball a little bit more this year. Yeah, the defense might stink, but I think their band is like between 9 and 11 wins. Yeah, you can just kind of count on that right now from the Packers.
Frank, great job. At Yahoo Schwab on Twitter, NFL sports betting for our friends at Yahoo Sports. Stay well. We'll catch up down the line.
Appreciate it, dude.
I enjoyed that a lot with our friend Frank Schwab. And look, he's right, potentially, about the tanking stuff at the end of the year. And I've been saying it for a while. He's been saying it. A lot of people have been saying it. For a lot of teams, it's all about the 2027 draft. What I find really fascinating, again, is that these teams, some of these quote-unquote bad teams, are actually not that bad. And how's this going to shake out when the calendar turns to December? We'll get back to the National Football League next hour on the show. But coming up next, Major League Baseball and why this stretch of games more important than you might think for the World Series favorite, LA Dodgers, here on You Better You Bet.
pitch to Freddie Freeman. Ground ball, base hit right field. Ohtani rounds. Marte's throw. Doesn't matter. Shohei scores.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM players will receive a WNBA odds boost token. To use the token, add a WNBA wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today and please gamble responsibly. Sportsnet LA, courtesy of The Call. Freddie Freeman go-ahead single last night as the Dodgers overcome an early deficit to beat the Kansas City Royals in Tarek Skubal's first home start as an LA Dodger. Skubal, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. And with the win, the Dodgers improved to 71-48. So I've teased a couple times during the show. Why is this stretch of games right now so important for the Dodgers, who I think are about to get white hot? I think last night's win was an important one. They had obviously been scuffling following the trade, leading up to the trade deadline and following the trade deadline and the acquisition of Skubal, playing terrible baseball. In a 162-game season, these things will happen, right? But now it's time for the Dodgers to pull out of that tailspin. So why is this series of games coming up so important for the Dodgers? The reason is, while the Dodgers are the deserved favorite to win the World Series, they are the favorite, plus 155 to win the World Series. That's deserved. And I think if any of our, thankfully they're not, but if any of our lives were on the line, we would take the Dodgers, right? Life on the line, win the World Series, you would take the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in somewhat, and precarious is a strong word here, maybe not totally appropriate, but let's say a semi-precarious situation right now. And you know who agrees with me? Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, who said as much before yesterday's game, a win, of course, against the Kansas City Royals. So if you look at the National League standings right now, the 1 seed in the National League, best record in baseball, belongs to the Milwaukee Brewers, despite their loss last night to the Padres. And next hour on the show, we'll do some Padres, some Brewers. We'll get into the Red Sox and like whatever the hell happened in the Red Sox-Blue Jays game last night, which was absolutely ridiculous. We'll talk about that next hour. Right now, the Brewers have the best record in the National League, 74, and in baseball, 74-45. The Dodgers are 71-48. So, too, are the Atlanta Braves. If the season ended today, it doesn't, but if it did, the Braves would be the 2 seed and the Dodgers would be the 3, meaning the Dodgers would have to play a wild card series. And if the season ended today, it doesn't, but if it did, the Dodgers would have to play the Philadelphia Phillies. I'd pick the Dodgers to win that series. I think the Dodgers would win. Do you think the Dodgers want to deal with those frontline starting pitchers and the power that the Phillies have in their lineups in a best of 3? Do you know what team is 1 game out of the 3rd wild card spot right now? How about the San Diego Padres? A team that the Dodgers have owned, obviously, over the years in big spots. You don't think San Diego would be chomping at the bit to get another crack at the Dodgers? It's going to be important. And look, the Dodgers can be a wild card team and they can still get it done. Obviously, right? They can do that. But if you're the Dodgers, Dave Roberts said it. They want to get out of there. And you don't want to play Arizona potentially either. Like, you want to be a top 2 seed. And if the season ended today, they wouldn't be. It would be the Brewers and the Braves as the top 2. So just think about that, right? We all think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series correctly. Would you feel a little differently if they had to go through the Phillies in a wild card series in a best of 3? Final hour, power hour coming up next. We'll talk some more National Football League, give you all our bets for tonight, some more baseball. We'll start it off, though, with my pal John Jastrzemski here on Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Laura. Final hour. Power hour. You better you bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, the great John Jastrzemski, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. We'll get into Major League Baseball coming up about 20 minutes from now, including whatever the hell it was that happened last night in this Blue Jays-Red Sox game. That, like, I'm trying to think about how I want to describe it. It's like you have some sort of math problem that you don't understand, and someone explains it to you, like, here's exactly what happened, and then they explain it again, and again, and again, and, like, you still just don't get it. That was me with this Red Sox-Blue Jays game last night. I'll explain what I'm talking about in a little bit. Boston's going to activate Adley Rutschman. Is he going to make the difference as the Red Sox are all of a sudden on the skids, losing 3 straight? Bets for tonight will close the show in MLB, and I'm just going to tell you, I got a lot of bets for tonight. Feeling it a little bit after hitting the Mets last night. Bets for Major League Baseball will wrap the show. Joining us right now to talk some Major League Baseball. We'll get into, oh man, I can't wait to share. Maybe we'll do it off the jump here. I have a scintillating, scalding hot Week 1 NFL betting take to share with my friend, John Jastrzemski. One of the best in the business. New York, New York. New York Sports Rush with our friend Sal Licata, presented by a sports book that is not BetMGM, so I'm not going to say their name, but JJ and Sal are both great friends of mine, and if you like New York sports, you should check it out. SNY locally here in the New York tri-state area as well, and just all-around great guy. Hashtag girl dad. My friend John Jastrzemski. JJ, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
I mean, that's one hell of an introduction, number one. Number two, it's always a pleasure. You'll appreciate it. And I told you right before I signed on, the solo parenting I'm doing right now to be able to multitask with you and have some fun and have my 15-month-old daughter entertained. Hashtag God bless Sesame Street. But I'm not going to bury the lead here. The hot take of Week 1, as someone that wants to start off 5-0 in their circuit contest, let's see if we're simpatico.
Can I hit you with something else before I do that?
Yeah, of course. Your show.
Because look, I love, this is the truth. I love nothing more than like talking about my kid. And I love talking with other moms, dads about like their kids and parenting. I think this stuff's the absolute best. Who is your daughter's favorite Sesame Street character?
Wow. Elmo.
Yeah.
Elmo.
Well,
now,
it's funny.
I'm
a couple years older
than backstory, though.
Go ahead.
We have an Ernie that is from 1987. I'm born in 1988 that she sleeps with every night that my mom saved. And my nephew and my godson has Bert and Ellie has Ernie. So, like, she loves Ernie and needs to sleep with Ernie. But as far as, like, who excites her the most when she sees him posted on TV, Elmo. Slam dunk.
What's funny about that? Like, so you were born, I'm 5 years older than you. I'm born in 83. Elmo was, like, not a thing when we were kids. Like, I don't even think Elmo was on, like, main Sesame Street. Like, I didn't even know who Elmo was when, like, Tickle Me Elmo came out when I was, like, 13 or whatever. It was Ernie and Bert, and Grover was my favorite. Like, when did Elmo actually become a thing here? Because Elmo is my daughter's favorite also.
I think it was a 90s thing. I think 90s and Elmo would probably make sense. 90s, because Tickle Me Elmo was like late 90s, I want to say, Nikki. So I was aware of Elmo. I knew of it. I would say 90s.
Your daughter is 15 months old, you said off air. My daughter is I don't want to do the months, but she's 2 years and almost 4 months. Your daughter is in the sweet spot right now where she's not saying no to everything you say, which my daughter is. My daughter's also now doing the schizophrenic thing where I'll say, she'll like cough and I'll say, honey, do you want water? She'll go, no, don't want water. And I'll say, okay. And then she'll look at me and go, water, want water. Like you just said no, make up your mind. Anyway, the betting take. You ready for this?
I am ready. Born ready.
Forget about the points. your Miami Dolphins are going to go on the road to Las Vegas in week 1. 200-plus rushing yards with Malik Willis and Devon Achane and beat the Las Vegas Raiders out. They might not win a game the rest of the season. I think they're going to beat the Raiders in week 1. I think they're going to rush for 1,000,000 yards in this game.
I'm with you. The Raiders stink. I think that's the moral of the story. Like, I'm not laying points with Kirk Cousins by margin in any way, shape, or form. And I'm intrigued by what I'm hearing out of Dolphin camp, Nikki. Listen, I still think they're going to stink. I think they're going to be a very entertaining 4 or 5 win team. And I know you've preached some positivity on the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be the dumpster fire of the division. Aaron Glenn is still the coach. He's the worst coach in the NFL by a significant margin. Geno Smith, yes, can complete the forward pass. The problem is Geno Smith completes the forward pass to the other team way too often. Did I mention it in the New York Jets? So I have the Jets as right there with the Arizona Cardinals as the worst team in the NFL. I think the Dolphins will be marginally better than that. And I'm with you. I will be taking the 4 in Miami. I think they win week 1. It's not my favorite bet of week 1. A team that plays in Texas is my favorite bet of week 1. I cannot wait to bet the Texans against Buffalo. Oh my goodness. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Did I mention that Josh Allen never wins in Houston? Ever?
I'm going to like the Texans in that game also. And I want to circle back to, we'll do some more NFL week 1 thoughts in a second here, but just on the Jets. And look, I have to be honest, right? Like, I'm a little higher on the Jets than I think most people are. I think they could go 9-8 potentially. But
whoa.
But listen, because look, like let's be honest about it, right? Because you can be right. Like, I think both of us are right, and we don't know how it's going to play out. The players on the roster are like actually good. Like, the roster is not a bottom-feeding roster in the NFL. They have good players on both sides of the ball. But here's how it goes wrong, to your point, right? I loved the Jets a couple years ago with the Aaron Rodgers year. And I remember I was doing all these radio hits before the season and doing the show. And what I would say is, like, I don't like Robert Saleh as the head coach, but I think the players are good enough to overcome him. And he got fired in October. So look, so you could be right, and Glenn and Reich are total disasters. Yes.
Now, this was 24, not 23.
23 is the year that Rodgers tears his Achilles like 5 games into the year. So this is the year that they go to London, lose to the Vikings, and Saleh gets fired after the game. I loved the Jets that year, and what I failed to realize is Robert Saleh, I'm not going to fall for it in Tennessee this year because of that. So that's how it goes wrong. That's how I'm wrong about the Jets, is if Glenn and Reich are total disasters. But if they're even if Glenn's a little better than he was last year, I think they're pretty good from a roster construction perspective.
I think he's going to have to be a lot better. And I think the quarterback situation is going to have to be a lot better. Now, you want positives? You're right. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are really good players. Their offensive line should be an upper half offensive line in the NFL. Defensively, though, even after adding Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a shell of what he once was, Demario Davis is still a solid player, but he's 40-something years old. Nick, can they get an interception? Can they actually go and get after the quarterback? I would hope that they could get an interception in week 1. Here's
David Bailey looks like a star by all accounts right now. It's we haven't seen a preseason game yet, but he looks awesome right now.
Can I give you a grandiose take on the Jets?
I would be really offended if you didn't after that.
They have to win week 1 against the Titans. Have to. Because have you seen the next 3 games?
Hit me with it.
Packers, Lions, Bears. They don't win that Titan game they're starting on.
You know what's crazy? I think they can beat all of those teams. I'm not saying that I'm going to pick them to. The Packers aren't going to have Parsons. The Lions' defense stinks. The Bears' defense stinks. They're going to be dogs in these games. I don't think it's outside the realm they could start 2-2.
Well, if they do, all of a sudden they have a season. And all of a sudden you have something to watch. I need to see it to believe it with this head coach. I'm glad you mentioned the Bears. They are the team. There were a couple of teams this year. I just can't figure out what to do with them. The Bears fit that mold perfectly. Like, I filled in for you, hung with Billy Z and the crew. They were great. And I was like, I'm out on the Bears. Well, because my thought was, hey, insane close game record, insane turnover differential, not sustainable year to year. Here's the problem. I really like the coach, and the quarterback is a stud.
Agreed.
And that's where, I was like, oh, I'm betting Bear under. I'm betting Bear and miss the playoffs. And now, as we get closer to the season, I'm getting monstrous cold feet on that. And I'm getting cold feet on the Patriots, Nick, because I think they are going to have 4 wins against the Jets and the Dolphins. And they're better on offense than what they were a year ago. So I'm having a hard time with those two.
I agree 100% with the thought process on the Bears. I think I'm going to have them in the playoffs. I think I'm going to have the Patriots win the AFC East this year, JJ. And that doesn't mean I think the Bills are going to be bad, but I think New England's upside is to go 12-5 or 13-4.
They have a ton of talent. And I know that Mike Vrabel has some extracurriculars going on off the field.
Extramarital, extracurricular. Yeah, all that good stuff. Absolutely.
I don't think it's going to be much of a problem for him. I think it's football time. He's focused on football. The guy can really coach. Period. End of discussion.
I do want to get into some baseball with you, but since we're talking NFL Week 1, I have an itch that needs to be scratched, and it's not just the mosquito bite on my hand that I'm currently scratching with this water bottle cap. Because I got to tell you, these mosquitoes are sons of bitches, and they are out for my Mediterranean blood every single day.
Last year. You don't got to tell me. I get it, bro.
Your name ends in a vowel. I'm Greek and Italian. Yeah, I mean, they're after the sweet Mediterranean blood. There's no question about it. Just a couple games in Week 1 to get your thoughts. Oh, man. I don't even... This is not even a half-baked betting opinion. This is I haven't even, the mixture's not even in the bowl yet. So I really reserve the right to change my mind. I might pick the Patriots to beat the Seahawks on opening night. That's crazy, right? Seattle's a 3.5-point favorite. Do you have a quick opinion on Seahawks-Patriots?
I don't think that's crazy at all. Because I think Seattle's a team that probably takes a step back this season. And, the betting public's going to be all over the Seahawks in that spot. I don't have a strong lean on that game yet. I'm not all the way there, and I will be because it's the first game of the year, and obviously I'm going to have a play on it. Obviously, I'm going to have a bet on it. I, right now, would not talk you out of it. I don't think it's unreasonable.
Will you be with me? I'm guessing not, based on how you talked about it. Jets, because you know what's fun, right? So, you said Aaron Glenn is the worst coach in the league. Maybe.
Yes.
Is it possible that Robert Saleh is the worst coach in the league? I'm taking the Jets to win Week 1 on the road in Tennessee.
Okay, well, it kind of correlates with your theme on the Jets being better than advertised this season. I want to make a case, and I'm not betting it, but I want to make a case that Tennessee is going to be much better this year. Dable is the offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive coordinator. Saleh, a second time being a head coach, learning from those mistakes, getting out of the abyss that is the Jets. And I don't want to sell my Cam Ward stock, Kostos. I'm a fan of Cam Ward. I think he can play.
Oh, I'm selling.
I would go heads. You're selling? That's fine. I'll go heads up with you in that game. I'll take Tennessee.
Great. We'll do this again before the season. We'll finalize that. But yeah,
I'll
be on the
Jets. We'll save the VIG. We'll save the VIG. That's fine.
I love it. Last NFL game, and then I want to do some baseball. I'm a little all over the place on this game because when the schedule first came out, I made the case that I think the Cowboys need to be a 3-point favorite on the road at the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Now, we're close to being there. The Cowboys in between a 2.5 and a 3-point favorite. What does that mean? It's a juice 2.5. It's close to being 3. As we get closer to the season, and I like Dallas this year, if this gets to 3, JJ, and I'm not a homer with the teams I root for, I think I'm going to pick the Giants. Where do you stand, Giants-Cowboys, Week 1?
I love the Cowboys. And I love the Cowboys this season, Nick. I'm betting them to win the division. I'm betting Dak to be the MVP. I think Dak is the best quarterback in the division because I watch football every week, and I will tell you, he's the best quarterback in the division. And that defense, with a full year of Quinn Williams, Caleb Downs is a difference maker. I just think there's going to be an adjustment period. Start, different offense, playing a lot more under center. Guys getting back from these injuries. Scatterboo getting back from these injuries. Neighbors getting back from these injuries. I think Harbaugh will have the team humming. I think the Giants are going to be a very competitive, 8-9, 7-10, 9-8. They're anywhere from hey, bounce of the ball goes their way, they're in the playoffs. A couple of bounces don't go their way, they're out of the playoffs, but they will be trending in the right direction. I am a firm believer that Harbaugh is going to turn that program around. I just don't think you see it from Jump Street. And I actually look at the Giants as one of those teams where the 0-2 start, which has been a death sentence for them in years past, won't be if they lose to the Cowboys and lose to the Rams.
I'm marinating on something really crazy.
Oh boy.
I almost don't even want to say it out loud.
Are you throwing a giant Super Bowl future in? Is that where we're going?
No. I think they might start 2-0.
That's pretty crazy. Well, I mean, can I say this?
Can I give you the elevator pitch for? And I reserve the right to change my mind on this. We still have a month.
No, let me
not
hear.
set in stone.
Make the pitch.
Here's the elevator pitch. I look at the Cowboys and the Rams, who are the Giants' first two opponents, both in primetime. Cowboys Sunday night at home, Monday Night Football, week 2 on the road in LA. The weaknesses of these two teams, it's the same weakness. Dallas's offensive tackles can't pass protect. I'm worried about Guyton and Steele. And with the Rams, I'm worried about Alaric Jackson on the left side and Warren McClendon on the right. Now look, this assumes that Abdul Carter's going to get after that ass. Brian Burns gives you what he gave you last year. Kayvon Thibodeau gives you something, and I'm a huge Arvell Reese guy. Why can't they pummel Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford in the first couple games of the year?
Are they going to be able to stop the run?
Well,
that's the question.
They're going to be underdogs in both games.
Run, and those pass rushers can pin their ears back and they're playing with the lead, then yeah. But if their opponent is going for 150 plus on the ground and they're kind of playing on their heels, it becomes incredibly problematic. Dude, if they win those first 2 games, then you could really start dreaming big. They got the Titans and the Cardinals week 3 and week 4.
Oh, man. I'd like to halt this conversation.
Don't get greedy. How about this? Go get one of the first 2. And I'll say this from the Rams.
Sign up with that, right?
How could you not?
Yeah.
How could you not? And the Rams game, you might be getting them in a good situation because they'll be coming back from Australia.
I might pick the Niners to beat them in Australia.
See, I'm with you on that. Niners always play them tough. Shanahan always, I love Shanahan. I want Shanahan to win a Super Bowl because I think he's such a good coach.
I do.
He deserves it. I was in Philly and I had this debate with a buddy of mine in the All-Star game. There's not one person on planet Earth that would rather have Nick Sirianni as their head coach than Kyle Shanahan. I understand Sirianni won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. This is why, like, sometimes you just have to watch football every week to have, like, coherent thoughts. Because people who don't, they'd be like, oh, well, Dan Marino is not one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He never won a Super Bowl. But, like, if you watch football, like, he's one of the best to ever do it. Kyle Shanahan, what he does year in and year out, he's amazing. Now, he needs to win. Eventually, he needs to win, or it's going to be this blemish on his resume. But, like, it goes to show you that winning a Super Bowl is not, like, just the simple be-all, end-all, because he's a better coach than Nick Sirianni.
It's not even close. It's not even close. And I couldn't agree with you more. And, like, if we have time, if not, I'll do it tomorrow. I think people are overreacting a little bit right now to all the injuries at Niners camp. It's August 11th. Like, if Bosa gets back and Christian McCaffrey's back and Mike Evans comes back, we're going to feel, I know the Pearsall thing sucks. We're going to feel a lot differently about the Niners if and when those guys are back from injury. There's still a month before the first game in Melbourne for the Niners and the Rams. Couple Major League Baseball thoughts for you here. So, Dodgers beat the Royals last night, right? Right before you came on the air to end last hour, I'm talking about how I think it's critical for the Dodgers if they want a 3-peat. Not that they can't if this happens. They don't want to be the 3 seed, right? They don't want to have to play the Phillies or the Padres potentially in a wild card series, which I think would be the likely outcome if Atlanta and Milwaukee finish ahead of them here. So, JJ, if not the Dodgers in the National League, then who in the NL?
I thought the Phillies. And the more and more I think about it, I have problems with that. You want to know why I have problems with that, Nick? They can't hit. I don't trust their lineup. And they don't hit Dodger pitching. The team that I'm actually circling, Atlanta.
Okay.
And Milwaukee would be the team. Milwaukee's the team to profile. The odds would say they're the team with Mizorowski. I think as far as, like, beating the Dodgers, we've seen the Braves do it. I know 2021 is a long, long time ago. They accomplished the goal, and they hit velocity. That to me is kind of the pathway the more and more I think about it, where it's like, hey, you're going to have to be able to score runs against the Dodgers. I don't trust Philly to do it. I know Milwaukee's in the neck. They put the ball in play. Too much PTSD from last year. Maybe it's the Braves as the team that's going to knock off LA. And here's my take on the Dodgers, too. If they're going to get knocked off, it will be in the National League. Because if they find their way to a World Series and they could sniff it, they could taste it, they're 4 wins away from a 3-peat, they are not going to be denied. If you're going to get them, you're going to get them early, period.
What about the San Diego Padres, potentially. And they're on the outside looking in right now, but JJ, I'm kind of seduced a little bit by San Diego.
I was so out on this team. I actually bet their live win under at the halfway mark at 81.5 because I was like, they might sell off some guys. Their lineup stinks. They're a pain in the neck, though. Pain in the neck. They had Mize. They keep Mason Miller. Can they score any runs, though, Nick? Like, that would be a team against the Dodgers in a best of three that'd be a little scary, though.
Right?
Because they have no fear of the Dodgers. No fear of the Dodgers.
Couple American League things to bounce off you before we let you roll here. I have been saying for a while now that I think, assuming Judge comes back, which I think you and I both think that's going to happen, for what it's worth, he said he's going to come back. If that happens, right, and Bellinger and Stanton are back, and Garrett Crochet and Roman Anthony are back for the Red Sox, I think the winner of that, I think that's going to be the wild card series, right? Yankees-Red Sox at Yankee Stadium or Fenway. We'll see who finishes with the better record. I think winner of that series, if we get it, when we get it, wins the American League. Agree or disagree with that sentiment, and why?
So I agree, but I do want to warn you. The Yankees, dating back to when the wild card started in 1995, Nick, have never gone to the World Series as a wild card team. It came close in 2017, but they've never done it. My fear is what happened a year ago. They put all their eggs in the basket to beat Boston. It's a war. It's a 3-game series. Then they got to go to Tampa. And I don't think Tampa's as good as Toronto was last year. I don't think they have the same kind of lineup. I mean, they got Cedric Mullins playing for them, for goodness sakes. I think there's some questions about their bullpen. But you know that Tropicana Field is a house of horrors for the Yankees. That would not, the way it sets up, though, wouldn't be an easy series in the ALDS. If you get through the ALDS, I mean, the ALCS is going to be cakewalk against Houston, Chicago, Yankees, Tampa. They're going to be huge favorites against whoever they end up playing there. So the way this formats, the tougher challenges for the Yankees would be early in the American League postseason, not as it evolves. But to give you a long-winded answer to that question, yes, I think the winner of Yankees-Red Sox goes to the World Series.
Do you have to run to your daughter, or you have time for one more?
I have time for one more, but she's having some fun, so we can maybe have a little background noise.
Take me through your emotions this morning when you saw that the NBA season will open on Tuesday, October 20th, and one of the games will be our Knicks hosting LeBron James and the Philadelphia 76ers.
I absolutely love it. It's why Adam Silver was waiting for forever to release the schedule, because he needed to know where LeBron was going to be going. Because if LeBron was in Miami, they would have opened the season. If LeBron, I think, was a Warrior, they might have opened the season. Like, they wanted LeBron at Madison Square Garden. Philly, Knicks, it's going to be great throughout the course of the year. And Nick, how about getting Wemby in those tiers on Christmas Day? He's going to get a lump of coal in his stocking again. After the Knicks series, he got it. He's going to get it on Christmas Day. I love what the schedule makers have done here. Fantastic.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And the Knicks are going to beat the Sixers on opening night. Oh, I would be shocked if the Knicks lost that game. The first
Same
game
here.
with these new pieces. Knicks, the ultimate team at the Garden.
We'll have to pay the
Banner
premium
gonna come
for it,
down.
but it will be worth it. It will be worth it.
Oh, my God. Hell yeah. JJ, you're the best. My personal rankings would be 1, Grover, 2, Ernie. I think that's it. Those are my favorites.
Wow, I'm going
Grover
Ernie
guy and an
1,
Ernie guy. Okay.
Ernie 1, Cookie Monster 2.
Cookie Monster 3. That's a good point. Cookie
Monster's got to be there. Grover's great, but I give you old reliable Big Bird. And I think me, my wife, and Ellie will be Sesame Street characters for Halloween. I think that's absolutely happening.
We took my daughter a couple months ago to a thing in Jersey, a Sesame Street play, and we all wore the same shirts with Sesame Streets on them. I've never felt more like a dad than that. And it was great.
Well
it was
played.
awesome.
Yeah,
You're the best,
absolutely.
buddy. New York Sports Rush, SNY locally here in New York. John _Yastrzemski on Twitter. Thank you very much, buddy.
I appreciate you plugging the gigs. I mean, I know there's a lot to chew on. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Listen, you gave me 20 minutes on the show. The least I can do is promote all the stuff you're doing. And that the New York Sports Rush, again, presented by a sports book that's not BetMGM. I'm not going to say it, but JJ is one of my favorites. Sal Licata, one of my favorites. So if you like New York sports, you could check that show out. All right, our bets for tonight will close the show in about 20 minutes, and I can't wait for that. Because I got a lot tonight I like in Major League Baseball. A little bit on NBA's Christmas slate coming up next. We'll do some Major League Baseball as well. Keep it locked here. Westwood One Sports presented by BetMGM.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. So I am 43 years old, and I've been watching sports for since 1990. How many years is that? 36 years. I had to do the math. See, it's August 11th. I'll be in season form as we get close to NFL season. And I've been watching obsessively all the sports, literally since like late 1989 into 1990. It's not often that I see something, and you can, I'm sure, commiserate with this, right? Because you love sports, and you watch sports, and you probably, if you're of a certain age, been watching sports for a really long time. It's not often that we see something we've never seen before. I don't think in all the years I've watched baseball that I've ever seen anything quite like what we got in last night's Red Sox Blue Jays game in Toronto. I almost don't even want to lead through who's on third, whatever, because it doesn't matter at all. The Blue Jays won the game 2-1. I should have bet Toronto. I said that at the end of the show. I didn't end up doing it. Did get the winner with the Mets. Bets for tonight will close the show. So basically, there's an error on the scoreboard. The Blue Jays have, whoever's operating the scoreboard at Rogers Center has 2 outs on the scoreboard. There's a runner on first and a runner on third. A ball is hit into the outfield. The player at third comes home because he thinks the inning's over with the catch, and the runner at first kind of goes off first base and kind of gets doubled up, and no one knows what the hell's going on. John Gibbons comes out. The referees are talking to him. They're talking to Red Sox interim manager Chad Tracy. There's a 16-minute delay while they're figuring this out, and at the end of all of it, They award the Red Sox a run and end the inning. Just like, I guess, with the rule book in Major League Baseball, it made sense. But this, again, is one of those things where I've never seen it before. And I used, when I was talking to JJ in the last segment, this is like someone's trying to explain a math problem to you, or trying to explain something that's happening like in the world to you. And you can't comprehend in your head what they're talking about, or why it makes sense. And it can get explained to you 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and you still are just like, huh? What? Really? That's what happened? So that was pretty crazy last night. Again, it's not often that we as gigantic sports fans get something we haven't seen before. We got that last night in the Blue Jays Red Sox game. And why do I think it matters as we kind of spin things forward? Well, that play doesn't necessarily matter as we spin things forward, but I think the result does matter a little bit, because the Boston Red Sox, and things can change, right? It's just because I'm about to say this doesn't mean it's going to go the way I think it's going to go. The Boston Red Sox all of a sudden have lost 3 straight games. And and they can get hot again. So this isn't that they can't win another 8 games in a row starting tonight. Of course they can. But I do think that's a little interesting, right? Where it does feel like their momentum has kind of slowed a bit, right? And they were blistering heading into the All-Star break. And then coming out of the All-Star break, they're absolutely awesome, right? And Adley Rutschman's going to get activated from the injury list today for the Red Sox. And he hasn't played since they traded for him with the Orioles at the trading deadline. But Boston drops the series over the weekend to the Athletics, lose the first game of the set last night, only score 1 run against Toronto. Dylan Cease is pitching for Toronto tonight. I think we might see, and this doesn't mean, again, that Boston's going to lose 15 games in a row. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think we may see Boston struggle a little bit coming up here. I do like the Blue Jays in tonight's game. Now, I'm probably going to play it in a parlay because the Blue Jays were around minus 155 last I checked before the show. But we'll do that, at the end of the show, we'll finalize the bets. But I do like Toronto a little bit tonight. And, I've said, and they are 2 huge teams, and this may be like East Coast bias a little bit. I acknowledge that. But I do believe this. And you could say I have a West Coast bias in the NL because I think Dodgers-Padres, if it's Dodgers-Padres in the wild card round, I might pick the winner of that wild card series to go to the World Series in the National League. So East Coast biased AL, West Coast biased NL potentially for me. Tonight in the American League, the Yankees welcome the Seattle Mariners to Yankee Stadium. And the Mariners are one of the most disappointing teams in all of Major League Baseball. Seattle, somehow, with all the talent that they've got, after Game 7 of the ALCS last year, losing to the Toronto Blue Jays, have lost 4 straight, 7 of 10, and are 7 games under 500, 56-63. Can they get hot? Absolutely, they can. But the Yankees are coming off a series, right, where they take 2 of 3 from the Braves and really should have swept Atlanta. Like Cam Schlittler gives you an awesome game on Sunday. The Yankees only score 1 run. They lose 2-1. So, look, can the Mariners win tonight? Of course. That's baseball, Susan. Of course they can. But I think this is shaping up right now where the Red Sox had briefly jumped the Yankees, leapfrogged the Yankees in the American League standings, which again is big because I think that's going to be the wild card series, one of them in the American League, Yankees-Red Sox. The Red Sox last week had briefly leapfrogged the Yankees. Now the Yankees are 2 up on Boston. And I think as we approach the end of this week, that the deficit between the two teams may be even larger. And as a Yankee fan, I absolutely love to see it and hope that that is going to be the case. You bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. I want to get back to the NBA here and the Shams Charania tweets from earlier this morning, right before we came on the air, of the opening night schedule and the Christmas schedule. So in case you missed it, I gave my thoughts on Celtics Pistons, which is Tuesday, October 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Hilarious. I've seen people on social media bitching about it. Like, why would this be what it is? I don't know. Kind of feels awesome to me to have an NBA game in the middle of the day. Then Knicks Sixers, then Thunder Spurs in San Antonio. Pretty awesome for NBA opening night. Let's get into the Christmas schedule, and I'll give you a couple brief opinions on some of these teams. So Spurs-Knicks is the opener. I touched on them already when we talked about opening night. How about the Miami Heat, who will go to Boston on Christmas? Now, I'm not going to pick who's going to win. We don't know who's playing in the game. Load management. Our guy's going to be hurt. Who knows, right? But I'll give you an overarching opinion on the Miami Heat. Do I think the Heat, and I said this at the time, do I think that Miami was right to trade for Giannis? Of course. Absolutely. And I hated the Milwaukee Bucks haul. Milwaukee needed to trade him. I didn't like the package that they got back for Giannis. And time will tell. Maybe Tyler Hero will be awesome. Maybe, Nate Ament will be awesome. Maybe Braden Burries will be awesome. And I'm not saying all of those came virtue of the trade package. But, maybe at the end of the day, Milwaukee will have all of these pieces, young pieces, and a bunch of young pieces from Miami in the draft. And maybe we'll look back 3 years from now and say, you know what? Milwaukee did a good job. But as it stands right now, I didn't like that trade for Milwaukee. For Miami, how could you not like it? You get Giannis back in the deal. But my problem with the deal, and I said this literally the day after it was made, the first show after it was made, Miami's upside is not to win the Eastern Conference. They don't have enough to do that. Now, they can be a playoff team. They could win a series. That maybe they could even get to the Eastern Conference final. They're not beating the Sixers. They're not beating the Knicks. I wouldn't take them to beat the Pacers with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. I think I would take the Celtics over them in a playoff series. So yeah, Miami, if you're a Heat fan, you should be excited. You have Giannis. Giannis is still awesome. He's still one of the best players in the league. But basketball's a team sport. The Knicks just proved that. And I don't think Miami has the horses to potentially win a championship this season or really even come close. And I feel the same way about the LA Lakers, who'll host the Sixers on Christmas Day. And we had Bill Ryder on the show last week, my buddy from the Fan in Los Angeles, Odyssey station there. He's a little higher on this Lakers team composition than I am. I disagree with Bill, even though I respect his basketball acumen and his sports acumen. I just don't see it. Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the league. There's no question. But does this sentence pass the smell test for you? Luka, Austin Reeves, Walker Kessler, NBA Finals contender. For me, it doesn't. I don't even think they come close. Now, could they be the 3 seed in the West? Could that happen? Yeah. They could win 55 regular season games. Come playoff time, they aren't coming close to the Thunder or the Spurs. And by the time we get to Christmas, my sense will be the Sixers will be congealed a little bit, more cohesive early on. We're way too early. 0 cents being put on the game right now. I like the Sixers more than I like the Lakers this season. Thunder Wolves will be the 4th game, and my sense is I'm going to be higher on the Timberwolves than a lot of people. I think people will look at the LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards situation in the backcourt and maybe not like it. And look, we saw LaMelo in the 2 play-in games that the Hornets played. He's really erratic with the basketball. He's a really good player, and I'm about to make a pro Timberwolves case here in a second. But LaMelo Ball can drive you nuts with the way he plays sometimes. And I think it's fair to say that he has some maturity issues. And I think you can make an argument on either side of this, right? Where you could say LaMelo's immaturity is going to cost the Wolves in a big spot. And I can't prove you wrong because we have to see it to know what's going to happen, right? But just as easily as you can say that, I can say this, that Anthony Edwards, who is a dog, D-A-W-G, been to the Final Four a couple times already in his NBA career. Like, think about what the Timberwolves did beating the Nuggets last year, and Minnesota was hurt in that series, beating Denver in the first round before losing to San Antonio, like the Spurs were way better than Minnesota, obviously. What if Anthony Edwards' competitive nature and will and desire to win, instead of LaMelo Ball's immaturity rubbing off, what if that rubs off on LaMelo Ball? LaMelo is a big-time scorer, as is Anthony Edwards. And if the Wolves hit their upside, which may not happen, they could make a big-time noise come the Western Conference playoffs. Because now you have 2 guys that could hit you for 35 in any given game. So do I think the Thunder are better than the Wolves? Yes, I do. I don't think, who would disagree with that, right, if both teams are healthy? But I'm going to like the Wolves. I can tell already from stuff I've read, watched, and listened to. I'm going to like Minnesota with LaMelo Ball more than a lot of people are entering the season. And then the nightcap with Denver and Golden State. We're all kind of still waiting on the Nuggets' big move this offseason, right? Is it not going to happen? How about the report that came out? I thought this was a really fun headline. I was kind of shocked. I read it like a couple times just to make sure. That I'm Greek. I should be able to pronounce this correctly. Panathinaikos. I know how to pronounce this. I promise. I'm flubbing it at the moment. Panathaki, whatever it is. One of these Greek teams along with Olympiakos. Panathinaikos, whatever. I'm going to have to turn in my Greek card. Apparently made Nikola Jokic a quote-unquote serious offer to buy him out of his NBA deal and bring him to Greece. Obviously, Jokic was like, and the Nuggets were like, absolutely not. That's the biggest headline we've got right now out of Denver. Like, no big move has been made. When's it coming? Is it coming? Fascinating subplot. With Jokic coming up at the end of his Nuggets contract. And then there's the Warriors, who make me sad. And I don't need to detail it again just because we've done it before on the show. But the fact that they have this 2 timelines nonsense going on, where they're simultaneously trying to contend now and build for the future, it's led them nowhere. And they are and history will prove this out, I'm convinced. They are so lucky that Steph Curry dragged them to that championship in 2022. Or else this era of Golden State Warriors basketball, post Kevin Durant and the finals loss in 19 to the Raptors, would be an unmitigated disaster. He will never do it. Steph Curry will never do it. He should demand a trade out of Golden State to try and win one more NBA championship. All right, before we take the final break and give you our bets for tonight, Tyler Morales is here with our trivia question of the day. Tyler, what do we got?
Since 2000, 3 NBA champions failed to make it out of the first round the following season, so hopefully your Knicks don't do this. Can you name them?
So this is NBA don't make it out of the first round the following year. We will take a break,
2000.
And on the other side, I will attempt to answer this question and give you all the baseball bets for tonight, right after this.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Thanks to Frank Schwab, thanks to John Yastrzemski, thanks to our crew, which includes our friend Tyler Morales, who gave us the trivia question of the day. Since 2000, 3 teams have won the NBA championship, made the playoffs, and failed to get out of the first round. Can I name them? Tyler, I believe the answer to the question, 2 of them are from this decade, right? Is that correct?
One of them. One of them is from this decade.
So my answer was going to be the 2014 Spurs, the 2021 Bucks, and the 2022 Golden State Warriors. Your microphone is not working.
You got the 2014 Spurs correct. The 2020 Lakers lost to the Suns the following year when the Suns ended up making the NBA championship, and the 2011 Mavericks ended up losing to the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden
in an epic first round series. Okay, that's
so honestly, there you go.
Great trivia question by our fill-in executive producer and tactical director. Thank you very much to Tyler Morales. All right, let's get you all the bets for tonight because I'm going to extend myself a little bit here. We'll see how it goes. Laura, please drop the dope ass beat. Today, BetMGM players will receive a WNBA Odds Boost token. And I'll just say this to all WNBA fans out there. I'm not the biggest WNBA fan, which doesn't mean you can't be. I really hate how all the talk around this league has been hijacked by social issues and political nonsense instead of what I perceive to be, when I watch, pretty good basketball being played. So I hate that. I want to give just to say that. Anyway, today, BetMGM players will receive a WNBA Odds Boost token. To use the token, add a WNBA wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. It's ridiculous, and it's tiresome. Okay, bets for tonight. I'm hot right now. So I'm going to extend myself a little bit. And I'm just going to be honest. This normally doesn't go well. So do whatever the hell you want with these bets I'm going to give out. The Detroit Tigers are playing great baseball right now and are basically like right up there with the Cleveland Guardians in the standings for the AL wildcard spot. Detroit welcomes Cleveland into town to begin a set. The Guards have been getting bet a little bit from this morning. I'll take the discount. Give me the Detroit Tigers minus 125 tonight against Tanner Bybee and the Cleveland Guardians. All right, this is probably going to go poorly, but this is what I want to do. I would like a 3-team parlay tonight. Insert your laughs here. The New York Yankees to beat the Seattle Mariners. Yankees minus 135, Mariners losers of 4 in a row. Let's take the Toronto Blue Jays minus 145 against the Red Sox. Red Sox have lost 3 straight. I would like to bet against the Boston Red Sox. And let's keep riding the New York Mets. My guy Nolan McLean on the mound tonight in Atlanta against the Braves. Mets are playing better baseball. Kodai Senga with the save last night. Mets plus 110. That 3-team parlay pays plus 517. So 3-team parlay again. Yankees, Blue Jays, and Mets. And then to finish it out, I told you earlier, I think the Dodgers are about to go on a big-time roll here. They host the Kansas City Royals again tonight. Michael Waka 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 against Blake Snell. I bet it this morning. Dodgers on the run line, minus 1.5 was minus 118. It's up to minus 130. Fine. I think the Dodgers win by multiple runs tonight. So again, Dodgers run line against the Royals. Tigers money line against the Guardians, and a 3-team parlay, small bet for me, Toronto Blue Jays, New York Mets, New York Yankees, and a partridge in a pear tree. Good luck to you if you decide to tail. Remember, I've been hot and now I'm extending myself. Do with that information what you will. I'll talk to you all tomorrow on a wonderful Sports Wednesday. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you and yours minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck.